Welcome to the 7th episode of Field Days Podcast. And today we have a topic that I've been wanting to get off my chest for a long time. And we're going to be going through some of the things that we hear, advice we see guys given. We hear it on a daily basis. And a lot of it's about Whitetail Institute products and things like that. We're going to talk about everything the guy that's don't worry about soil sample and just throw 1313, that guy, to a lot of different things that we hear that just drives us nuts. And this is really going to be one of those podcasts that can help the new guy out there looking to learn, looking to do it the right way. This is going to help you out. We're joined by Brandon Self from Whitetail Institute. He's been working for Whitetail Institute for 14 years, planting food plots for probably 25 years. So one of the most knowledgeable guys in the industry when it comes to planting food plots. He's going to be joining us and help answer all these questions. Hello and welcome to episode 7 of Field Days, the spring edition. This is the 7th edition and the last one for the spring. We'll be doing 7 more of these in the fall, all related to fall food plot topics. We've covered everything in this series from herbicides and spraying. We did a property tour. We talked about stand placement, a lot of great stuff. So if you missed any of the podcasts, we encourage you to watch them. But today's topic, we have something that I really have wanted to talk about for a long time, and we've kind of avoided, but it's going to be my personal rant. I'm pleased to be joined here today with Brandon Self from Whitetail Institute. You've worked how long for Whitetail Institute?
14 years.
14 years, yeah. And super knowledgeable guy. He knows as much about food plots as anybody out there. And I run a Facebook group called Food Plots for Whitetail. We're up to over 20,000 members now. It's a great group overall for the most part, but it just amazes me the amount of incorrect information that guys want to share and some of the misperceptions. There's some really good guys out there too that just happen to be talking to their buddy that they trust, and he gave them this advice, and they think that's the way that it is. Not that they're necessarily jerks or bad guys. They've just been misinformed.
Yeah.
So today what I want to do is go through some of those main things that we hear on a regular basis.
Yeah.
And we're going to talk about those. And I'm going to apologize in advance if I get if my voice starts to raise a little bit. But it gets frustrating. And I just came to the point, I'm like, you know what? I'm tired of typing this stuff online. We're going to do these podcasts, and we're going to go through each one of these one by one. And next time I see somebody comment, I'm going to say, hey, here's a link. Just go listen, because I'm not writing it out all the time. So that's the goal here. But the first one we wanted to talk about was you hear this all the time. Just get your seed from your local place. Seed is all the same. Seed is seed is seed. Get it local. Your local guy knows more about seed in your area than anybody else. And that is just so wrong and so inaccurate. It's unreal. But there is a significant number of guys that absolutely believe that. And Brandon, I know you deal with that question a lot. I'll let you go ahead and talk a little bit first, and then I'll put my 2 cents in.
The biggest difference when you talk to somebody that says, well, I can buy this at my local ag store. Well, you can't. Every blend we have has proprietary seeds in it you can only get from the Whitetail Institute. Most of the seed blends that we have been years upon years in the making.
Yep.
A lot of work, a lot of time, a lot of effort goes into getting the exact blend the way we want it with the seeds we want. They're not designed for agricultural purposes. All of our products are strictly designed for whitetail deer. And I think that's the biggest difference that you'll find with our products. They've been tested on wild whitetail deer. They've been tested on penned whitetail deer, of course, too. A lot of people use in their pens. But it's not like going and buying a bag of turnips from the co-op. Mm-hmm. Not that there's anything wrong with buying turnips from the co-op if that's what you want to do. But if you're wanting to feed deer, these seeds are strictly designed for that purpose, sure. Not for agricultural purposes. I mean, a lot, and what I like to tell people, if you want to try your farm store seed, plant it beside ours and see which one works best. That answers all questions.
Sure. I mean, it's amazing to me, and I'll be honest, I get, there's this movement out there of guys that they just hate me period, because I've been able to do something with my life and I'm able to hunt for a living, and they don't even know me. They just hate me because of it.
Yeah.
And I've come to accept that, and I feel bad for those guys. And there's a certain number of guys that they just hate Whitetail Institute because we're the best. I mean, we sell a premium seed, and they'll look for anything they can to say, hey, you're getting ripped off. And I'm going to be honest, that really, really bothers me. I've worked with Whitetail Institute for, probably 8-9 years now. And I've had the privilege of working with Wilson and Steve, the owners. Whitetail Institute is a family-owned business. Ray Scott, their dad started it 30 years ago. All they do is food plot seed for whitetail for 30-some years. And this when these guys imply, hey, they're trying to rip you off. I've never met, and I've worked with a lot of brands in the industry. I've never met a brand or a company with more integrity than Whitetail Institute.
Yeah.
Flat out. And like I said, I've had the privilege of working with a lot of good brands, and there's a lot of good guys out there, and they're shysters.
Yeah.
But when guys just imply and they don't know what they're talking about, and they're just spouting off, and they say things like, oh, you're getting ripped off. You can get your same seed at your local, exact same stuff for half the price. That's just not true.
It's not the case. And I used to be like you. It used to bother me when I'd get those calls of, I could get this down the road for a lot cheaper. That used to bother me. But the longer I've been here, I know what we are. I know what the company is. I know what we're based on. I know that we've always been a business that is in full support of our customers. So what I don't let that bother me anymore. What I do, I focus on is the customers that I know want to use our products and want to be better food plotters, sure. and I work with them. People that call and all they want to do is, give the negatives. Well, that's fine. That's your opinion, but I don't deal with that anymore.
Sure.
We deal with the positives. We deal with the customers that want to get better. We try to make them better food plotters.
Yep.
And in turn, it's, that's why we've been in business for 30 years.
Sure. And like we said, we keep saying that 30 years, but that is all Whitetail Institute does is food plots for whitetail for 30 years. And there's a reason that your blends are the #1 best-selling blends of all time. I mean, there's a reason for it. And, when they say seed is seed is seed, you kind of touched on it. That is not the case. You look at your Imperial Clover blend. That is a seed that is owned by Whitetail Institute, that has been developed by Whitetail Institute to be more palatable. Like you said, we go plant strips. Show us. And I've had guys say, 99% of the time when people plant strips, they're saying, yeah, man, Whitetail went right to it. And you get the occasional guy, I did that, and the Whitetail went to the other. They didn't even like them. And, okay, show me some pictures. Mm-hmm. Well, they never have any pictures. They never have any video. They never really. And I'm not saying they're a lot, but 9 times out of 10 when you get a guy that says that, it's like, okay, like I'd love to see, did you document any of that? And it's, oh, no, I don't have any of that,
And there's a lot of people that are like that just want to be negative. And, like I say, it used to bother me, but now, like you say, all of our blends are proprietary blends. Now there's other products mixed in with our blends that, we blend these products for deer. So, it's not just we're going and getting the seed from the feed store, putting it in our bag and reselling it. That's not the case.
Yeah, and let's talk about that. I had this a little bit lower on the list, but I think it's a good time to, we're kind of talking about the seed blends and stuff. And you get the guy that says, we'll just use Imperial Clover for an example. Mm-hmm. And they'll say, don't get that Imperial Clover because it has an annual clover in it. You're getting ripped off, because they're putting seed in there to try and rip you off instead of just straight perennial clover.
Yeah.
Man, and I've said this to guys over and over. There is a reason. I'll let you explain what the reason is behind that. But the goal at Whitetail Institute is that you come back every year and want to buy. If we're not making a blend for you, if we're trying to rip you off, we know you're not going to come back to us. So that is the farthest thing from the case. We want you to be successful. So when we have these blends and you get a guy that says, don't get the Imperial Clover blend because there's this, and this. Mm-hmm. Well, there's a good reason that's in there.
It sure is. And, all of our blended crops, we have some crops that even our Whitetail Oats Plus, they have other things in with them. And there's reasons for that. But just let's stick to the clover. The clover has a jumpstart clover in it. It's an annual clover. And you get that question, why is there annual clover? It's a perennial blend. Well, the annual clover in our blend is designed to come up first. It grows faster. It's an annual clover. It establishes faster. The deer eat it first, and that keeps the deer from overgrazing your young, tender, new clover that you're trying to get established for 3 to 5 years. So it's not like we're just throwing fillers in there.
Sure.
We have them in there for a purpose, and it just, in our opinion, it's the best blend that you can get. and we work on that every year. We change things. We try to keep up with the times. We make things better as the year. We don't just get a product, leave it there, and hope it works for you. We don't do that. We try to progress these products and make them the best possible product we can get.
Sure, and that's what guys need to understand. That's the biggest thing is, when you get a guy, and it's always seems to be, and again, like I do want to say, 99% of the comments we receive are super positive.
Sure.
But it seems like the loudest guys are that 1% that just want to, they're pissed at the man. They just have something to prove, and they always want to, gotcha. I see you got this thing, they're trying to rip you off. Like, it's just not the case, and we tell folks out there, especially, we're talking to a lot of newbies that, you're out there looking for advice. And if you get a guy that says these things to you, just get your seed local. It's all the same. Don't listen to that guy anymore because he does not know what he's talking about.
Yeah, it's not the same.
Yeah, and he says, don't buy that seed blend because they have a cheap seed in it and they're trying to rip you off. That's not the case. Everything at Whitetail Institute has been blended. There's certain things in it for a reason. And, I'll let you talk about No Plow, which you say is absolutely one of your favorite blends is No Plow. And we were talking about, is it ryegrass or
it's got cereal grains in it. Yeah. But, it's probably one of our oldest annuals. I think it's the first annual the company ever had. It's designed to grow fast. It's designed to grow with minimal ground preparation. And, there's certain blends that don't work for that. There's certain blends. We could put any kind of expensive seed in there, but it's not going to work.
Sure.
So we blend the best products that we find into that one product to do exactly what we want it to do and what we want the customer to have it do for them. So,
sure.
It's not – there again, like you said, most of the feedback we get – and I've been doing this for 14 years, and most of the feedback I get is positive feedback.
Sure.
But like you say, that one guy that just wants to prove us wrong.
Yep.
Y'all, it's stuff you can get from the co-op or my ag store. It's just not the case.
Sure,
It's just not the case.
And we tell guys, Whitetail Institute's a business. You're in it to make money. We sell a premium blend. We understand our seeds are more expensive. But that being said, guys need to understand the research that's went in. Those are not seeds you get at your co-op. Those are things that have been over the years designed and developed for whitetail.
Yes.
And we have a full, you call somebody at Whitetail Institute, you're going to get customer service. Mm-hmm. You're going to talk to somebody on the phone. We have a full-time weed specialist. Like how many places are you going to call that one, I talk to guys all the time, like, man, I called this, seed company over here. I didn't get anybody to talk to. And you are going to talk to somebody every time. And I can't tell you how many guys I talked to have said, I am a customer for life for Whitetail Institute because they always took the time to talk to me.
Yeah. And that's another thing. The biggest thing to me is, a lot of these companies where you can go buy this other seed and you can buy blends that are, the new hot thing. You could do that. And when you have a problem with it and you try to call, the customer service is not going to be to the customer service we have. We stand by our products. We stand by any question that the customer has. They call us. We do everything we can to try to make their questions answered, try to make them feel the best they can about food plotting and everything else. So the customer service is probably, to me, the most important product that we have in our product line is the customer service.
Sure. And I agree. And you hear guys talk about that on a regular basis. And like you said, you have your other brands, and you'll never hear Whitetail Institute. We don't talk bad. No. About other brands. We don't talk about, one of the things is you got a ton of little guys out there developing their own seed companies, and they're the next best thing. And I just tell you guys out there, that are developing your seed blend and you're the new experts in the industry, competition is healthy. Like, we understand that. But there's a right way to do it and a wrong way to do it. When you come in and just say, buy my seed because their seed's junk and I'm going to do this, it's not the way to go about it.
Well, and those companies never last.
They don't.
And that we've seen it. We've seen it time and time again. Customers or companies want to put in the new hot blend, but the way they do it is they go about it is to try to bash the best blends to sell their blend, and it just doesn't work. There's been numerous companies I've seen come and go because of that reason.
Sure, and you'll never hear us do it. We just won't.
There's no point in it. I mean, the proof's in the pudding, as we say. Plant it beside whoever, and go buy the best clover you can buy. Put it in and put ours beside it, and see how it does. But the thing is, if you're going to do that, you have to treat them equally.
Yeah.
You have to soil test and plant them exactly the same if you want to know the difference.
And and we even thought long and hard about doing this. I had to twist you guys' arm to let me do this because it was more for my own state of mind and well-being that I had to get some things off my chest. But you guys deal with it, and it's just classy. You just kind of like, hey man, maybe we're not for you, and you move on.
Yeah, that's
You know,
exactly right.
and we don't get into it, and you know, we let our results speak for themselves.
Right.
You know, and that's what I tell guys when they send to me and they're like, man, that's junk, da da da. I go, I got 5,000 pictures that are gonna tell you different. You know, I'm planting an old strip mine ground, not great soil. I'm not in Illinois. I'm in Northwest Pennsylvania where everything's been strip mined for coal. You know, we don't have great soil, and I got about 5,000 pictures and videos that'll back up everything that I'm going to say.
And you do it the right way.
Yeah,
You know,
and,
that's the thing. You do it the right way. It grows right, and the deer eat it.
yeah,
You know?
and you know, 99% of these guys are coming saying that, you know, they can't show me anything. They haven't. Yeah, just want to kind of spout off. So more to the guys out there looking for solid advice, looking for the right way to do things and the right things to do. We're doing this show just so when you hear a guy say that, you know what, be real careful in taking advice from that guy.
Yeah.
You know, because he's got an agenda, whether he's mad at the world, whether he wants to stick it to the man or whatever it is, you know, whether he's trying to sell his own seed, whatever it is, there's usually an agenda with it. And you just have to take advice like that from guys like that with a grain of salt.
Yeah, and you know, if you have questions when you talk to somebody like that, and you have doubts, call us.
Yep.
800-688-3030, and anybody there will be glad to talk to you, even if it's about why we think you should buy our products. You know,
Sure.
we're not going to tell you to buy them. We're going to tell you why we think you should.
Sure,
Yeah.
sure. So let's talk next. While we're talking about seed, this is another big one I see, and I want you to explain this because I'd even like to be educated a little bit more on this. Is you see the guys say, "Don't buy that seed. It's 20 or 30% coating in the bag." Like coating, you know, it's like I get my seed uncoated, or you know, like coating's a bad thing. Explain a little bit what coating is,
Yeah.
why it's important, and when you hear a guy say, you know, don't buy that because it has coating on it, do not listen to that guy.
No, you know, coating, and they think they're getting gypped because they look on the tag and it says whatever percent is coating, okay? But if you buy a 4-pound bag of clover, no matter how much coating percentage is on the seed blend, you're still getting a half-acre bag of clover seed.
Yep.
But the coatings that are on the seeds is an inoculant coating, a bacterial coating that promotes germination. So it's one reason our clovers germinate faster, they grow bigger. They're more vigorous at young, tender ages. And it's also a rain bond coating on a lot of our perennial products, which means this coating on this seed, it takes a little bit of moisture, draws it into this seed, and promotes germination. So it's not just a beautiful color that we put on there to make it look good.
Sure.
No, it's purposeful. It's needed. And, you know, we're not going to sell seeds without coatings on them because the germination declines in that case. And so, you know, to the people that want to know why is it so much coating, why is the percentage so high on the coating? It's a little bitty seed, you know, so a little bit of coating takes up a lot of room on a little bitty seed. So the percentage is going to be higher, but you're still getting a half-acre bag of clover. That amount of seed, including the coating that's in that bag, is covering a half of an acre.
Correct.
It's not like we're selling you a half-acre bag of clover seed and only giving you enough clover to plant a quarter of an acre and then the rest coatings. That's not the way it works.
And that's how guys make it sound.
Yeah, that's what they think.
Yeah,
But that's just not the way it is.
It's not the case. So the moral of the story, A, coating good.
Yes.
You want coating.
You want it.
And B, you're still getting a half acre of seed.
No matter what.
You know, so when you see a guy say, don't buy that, it's got this percentage of coating or that, don't listen to that guy.
No, that's not. I mean, if a man told me, don't buy the seed that has coating, well, I'm going just the opposite. I want coating on my seed. I want germination to be the highest it can be.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. So next I have on here is you see this a lot. I got into it with a guy the other day, and I finally just gave up. He didn't want to give in, and I didn't want to give in, and I'm like, I'm done. But you see a guy will ask, hey, what fertilizer should I put on this food plot? You know, and it'll never fail. You'll have the guy 13, 13, 13, this many pounds per acre. And I always come back, it's like, how can you pretend to know that? You know, I do that here, and that's all I do every year. And here at Whitetail Institute, we preach soil samples.
Yes.
Soil samples, because you don't know. I don't care how good of a farmer you are. You don't know. You know, we'll hear that. A guy say, I know what my soil is. I know what my pH is. And I'm not saying you don't get close, but, you know, when I got into it with this guy, you know, I tried to explain to him, first of all, you're giving this guy, and I guessed right, he was from Illinois somewhere with super fertile ground, and, you know, and it worked for him every year. That's what I was doing. I said, you might be talking to a guy from New Hampshire that has rocky soil, or a guy from Pennsylvania, an old strip mine ground. You have no idea what advice you're giving out. No. You know, the first thing out of your mouth should be, get a soil sample.
Yes.
Flat out, get a soil sample. And then the next thing is, when a guy says, I don't have time, I got to get in the ground, there are some recommendations on the bag, that you can do. But we don't like to tell people to do it that way. It's not the right way to do it.
No, and look, you can put, it, depending on what you're planting, you can put triple 13 down at 400 pounds an acre, like the guy says. You can do that.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times it's not needed. It's a crop that doesn't need nitrogen. And like you said, there's no way to know unless you do a soil test. So we want, like I said earlier, we want our customers to have the best experience they can when they come to us for products. So to have the best experience you can with planting a food plot, you have to do the best thing for a food plot, and that's a soil test.
Yep.
I mean, do the soil test. It's $13.95. It's a minimal price to pay for a lot of insurance on your crop. That's going to give your crop the best chance to be the best it can be, from start to finish.
Sure.
And, like I say, listening to the guy that tells you, just don't worry about a soil test. I know my ground. You don't know your ground. I mean, unless you have soil tested the year before, you might have a better idea of what your ground is. If you've never soil tested, you don't know your ground.
Sure.
I can't look at a piece of ground. I've looked at a lot of ground in my day. I can't look at a piece of ground and tell you that pH is going to be a 5.5.
Yeah.
It's just impossible. I can look at a piece of ground and say, well, we need to probably plant clover there because it holds moisture. I can look at that and tell that visually. But visually, you don't know what the nutrient needs are. You don't know what the ability of the soil to actually hold the nutrients once they get in there. So just soil tests.
Yeah. And, the crazy thing about it is to me, just boggles my mind as a guy looks at it and is like, oh, $13 for a soil test. But yet I'll go spend – $300 on fertilizer that maybe I only need $50 of fertilizer. And this is fact. When you have a new food plot that first year, a lot of times you're biting a bullet. You're going to have a lot of lime and fertilizer. But after you do that, a lot of times, you have minimal needs. Right. And for if I didn't do a soil sample, I guarantee I'd be putting way more fertilizer on than what I needed to.
Common thing.
You are spending money that you don't need to spend.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy that tells you, I'll put on 19, 19, 19, put on 20, put this many pounds. You may be spending, $300 more than you need to, or $400, or however big it is, than what you actually need to do on that food plot.
Right.
And that just boggles my mind that a guy says, I don't want to spend $13, but yet I'll go out and buy $200 of fertilizer, and I maybe need $10 of fertilizer.
Well, and saying that, don't want to spend $13.95 and then go buy $400 worth of fertilizer. But look, like we talked about earlier, our seeds, you buy a 18-pound bag of clover seed. It plants 2 acres. You're looking at $100-something. Why not spend the extra $13 to make sure that $100 investment you're making is doing the best it can?
Yeah.
It's not just the expense of fertilizer you're wasting. It's the expense of the seed you're wasting. It's the expense of the lime, your time, diesel fuel, everything, so that $13.95, in my mind, that $13.95 should be here, and everything else should be below it.
Yeah.
It's a straight line from through the soil test into everything else.
Yeah.
That's got to be your portal into your food plot.
And I will say this, when I see this online and other places, I do think guys are honestly trying to help sometimes when, there are general fertilizer recommendations, and those guys, most of them will say, yeah, get a soil sample. If you can't get a soil sample, here's what you can do. I'm talking about the dude that says, don't worry about a fertilizer. I've been doing this for years, and you don't need to soil sample. I don't ever soil sample, and you don't need it.
There's always that guy,
and that's the guy. Do not listen to that guy.
No.
He is giving you bad advice, and that's what I say to guys. But there are other guys that are honestly trying to help a guy out. So I want to be fair to that crew. But it's the guy who's just, I don't ever soil sample. You don't need a soil sample. It's a waste of time. I mean, that's just, don't listen to that guy.
If it's my investment, I'm doing a soil test.
Absolutely. Yep. So next I have, this is one of my favorites. And, this isn't to say anything bad about the local guy, but I just want to talk about the logic behind it a little bit. But we get it a lot. When guys are looking for, what should I plant, for a food plot? And you'll get the guy that comes in and says, don't notice those guys from Whitetail Institute. Just go ask your local guy. He'll be able to tell you more than anybody. And and I'll let you, because I know you get that a lot, but I guess I'll touch on a little bit. And I said this to a guy the other day, and I said, and we have 2 great local places here. I spend hundreds, if not thousands of dollars every year in fertilizer and lime and things like that. And I do a lot of business with the locals, and I'm all about doing stuff with the local guys.
Yeah.
And both those local places will be the first to tell you. And just think of it. Most of these local guys, 95% of their business is dealing with a farmer putting in corn and soybeans.
Mm-hmm.
They're not dealing with white. That's a minor piece of their business is food plots for whitetail. And they'll be the first to tell you when you come in and you say, hey, I need, whitetail advice. They're going to say, absolutely talk to Whitetail Institute. Flat out. They're going to tell you that. They're honest. They're saying we can't possibly know more than a company that's been doing it for 30 years and it's all that they do.
Right.
We're our main business is, like I said, farmers and corn and soybeans and things like that, not a guy planting a quarter-acre food plot in the woods with rocky soil and things like that.
Because in their defense, they have to know about everything.
Sure.
They got to know about herbicides. They have to know about horse feed, dog feed. They have to know a lot.
Sure.
So their specialty usually isn't in one certain area. It's covering a broad spectrum. Ours is in a specific area,
and it's where they're making their money.
Exactly.
They're gonna focus on what is the majority of how they make their money, and they'll tell you that. So when this guy comes in and he says, and that being said, I'm not saying that there isn't some guys in some of these local places, that there are some that are really, really good, and you're fortunate if you have one of those guys in your area. But what I'm talking about on a guy comes on Facebook and he asks a question, and then a guy comes. And I think people get caught in their own bubble.
Yeah.
And it's like, okay, this guy lives in Illinois in the middle of farmland. There's this great local place with this great local guy that he can go and talk food plots all day, and that guy's super knowledgeable. That's just not the case in the majority of the country.
No, that's a rarity.
Yeah. So when a guy tells you, don't talk to a company like Whitetail Institute, just go talk to your local guy, I would suggest probably not listening to that guy. No. That guy's either in his own bubble or just flat out trying to mislead you. And think of it, would you rather deal with a company that is planting, mainly for farmers, for corn, soybeans, or a company that all they do all day long, every day, is food plots for whitetail? Yeah. I mean, just logically, think about that.
It's the case, and I've known the family that started Whitetail Institute pretty much all my life. I've known the company inside and out for about 14, 15 years. It's, we have 5 people in-house that's all we do, and it's all I did for many, many years. All we do is food plotting. And I don't just mean in the office. I mean, it's not that we just talk about food plotting. This is, I've been food plotting since I was 15 years old. It was part of our life in the South. That's what we did. That's what we still do. So we do it. We actually go in the field and plant these seeds. We try these seeds before everybody else does. We actually put them to work.
Yeah.
And we do the soil test, and we have problems every now and then, but we work it out. And and that's why we're such good customer service, is because we have had failures. We can tell you what happened to us and maybe how it could save you from happening to you. So you call us. It's not like you're calling and talking to this guy who's never been around food plotting and he's just reading out of a script about, well, this is the problem, let me look it up right here. That's not the case.
Sure.
We know everything. It's happened to us, and we plant the seeds, and we have real life experience, and we talk about it every day, all day long.
Sure. Yep. And 30 years of experience going through that, so it's one of those. That's one of my biggest. I hear guys say that. It's just like, you know what? That's not true, flat out. And you may have a great guy, and there are guys that are super knowledgeable. We're not saying that. There's a lot of guys out there, that do food plots that know a lot. You hear about, Grant Woods and Jeff Sturgis and guys like that. Those guys are super smart, they know their stuff flat out. And I'm not saying there's not guys at these, local places that don't, but for the most part, in the majority of the country, it is simply not the case that somebody's going to be there that knows more than what Whitetail Institute does.
And talk to those guys if you want to. Talk to those guys that at your co-op. But I also suggest you call us.
Yep.
Get as many sources of information as you can. Sure. But now, if you're planting our products, and really if you have questions about food plotting in general, we we'll have the answer or we can get the answer the best we can. So, I mean, any questions these customers have, call us. You know, if you want to talk to other people, talk to other people for sure. But always call it. Give us a call. We love talking about food plots.
Sure. I just flat out, my goal is just that a guy steps back and thinks about it logically.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, just, okay, like I got a guy sitting here telling me, don't go to Whitetail Institute, go to your local guy because he knows more about food plots for whitetail than Whitetail Institute.
Yeah.
And just think about that for a second, logically. That's why I want that guy. Like, just think of what you're saying.
Yeah, think about it.
Yeah, 30 years, that's all you do compared to a company where it's maybe 2% of their business.
Yeah.
And like we said, there are guys, there are good guys, but for the most part, it's just not the case. So, moral of the story here, if you get a guy who tells you, just go get your food plot advice from a local guy, don't go to a place like Whitetail Institute. They're just flat out don't know what they're talking about. So
yeah, it's just not, we don't sell pocket knives and we don't sell guns. We sell food plot seeds for whitetail deer. So
sure,
that's all we do.
So, that's kind of the main things. I know on the last, we've kind of hit on these, but the last point that I had, and I want to give you an opportunity to say is, all I've ever used is Whitetail Institute food plot seed. So I had a guy the other day on the group was giving me a hard time. It's like, oh, you ever talk about Whitetail Institute? I said, dude, I'm gonna be honest with you. It's all I ever planted.
Mm-hmm.
I can't talk to you about anything else. And for me, if it ain't broke, don't fix it.
Yeah.
And I'll show you my results. I'll show you what I have. Like my results speak for themselves. And this guy and he just couldn't get the picture. I'm like, dude, I've never planted anything else. It's for me, it's Whitetail Institute has my business, and it's always going to. And I just want you to take an opportunity to tell, why should somebody plant Whitetail Institute over something else?
Well, there's many, many reasons. The biggest reason is just because of the science we put into it, the ever-changing rebirth of different products. There's a lot of time and effort that goes into creating these blends. But I will say, when I was young and planting food plots, we were just kids going out with the tractor that we borrowed more than likely, and we were planting wheat, oats, and rye. That's what, and maybe some clover in there. And we did that for years, and we had deer come in. We had deer eating it. It was green. It wasn't like it wasn't growing or we were having bad luck or anything. But then I got this job, and then I started actually trying to better myself in preparation and execution. And so learning through this company, through the people that have come and gone through this company, which there's not many that have gone. We've had the same crew basically since I've been there. Learning from all the people that were in this office, and I became a better food plotter. Mm-hmm. And I think that just shows one reason that we are the best company to talk to for food plot advice, the best company in the food plotting industry, if you ask me. I mean, Ray started it all 30 years ago.
Sure.
Nobody was planting quality food plots 30 years ago. Mm-hmm. I mean, they were planting wheat, oats, and rye just like I was.
Yep.
And you think 30 years ago, we wouldn't be in business if we were conning people,
yep.
30 years. We're in business because we have great customer service. We're in business because we put effort into maintaining our product line, keeping it fresh and new. We're in business because we are here to help people. We're not here to want you to fail so we can sell you more seed. My perfect world, I'd sell you a bag of seed, wouldn't hear from you for 5 years.
Sure.
Let it grow for 5 years, and then you call me and buy another bag in 5 years. But that's not the case in the real world.
Yep.
So, I've grown through the experience of joining this company 14, 15 years ago. It's been a great blessing in my life just because the company is such a good company.
It is.
It's head and shoulders above any other company and I've dealt with a lot of outdoor companies, mm-hmm. And you have too, I know, and you've been a loyal customer to us even before, things got big,
yep.
and that's just a loyal customer base proves to us that we are doing the right thing, and that's why those customers that want to just come in and talk louder than everybody else and blast us, we don't worry about that.
Sure.
We have a strong customer base, we have loyal customers, and we're loyal to them, and that's the biggest difference for the Whitetail Institute.
Absolutely, and I'll touch on that. You touched on it a little bit. And, I get a lot of guys that, there's this whole crowd that just hates guys like me because I'm in the industry,
yeah.
For one reason or another, and I'll be the first to say I'm super blessed. I get to wake up every day and I get to talk hunting. I get to talk products like this. I know I'm blessed, you know, and there's a lot of guys out there that are naturally happy for you, you know, but you get the group that's not. And I tell guys, like you just said, Whitetail Institute just didn't one day out of the blue say, hey, we're going to sponsor this guy. I busted my butt for probably 4 years, and I didn't even know you guys, and I planted some Whitetail Institute products. I remember I'm sending some pictures to Wilson, and holy cow, like, it looks great, you know, and you guys get pictures all the time.
All the time.
But every year I'm just loading him up, sending him photos, and, you know, and then finally kind of came and said, hey, you know, what about, like, doing some of this and doing some of that? And the relationship just grew over the years, and it's been a tremendous relationship. I'm completely 100% honest with that, you know, and I say to guys, like, I'm like, yeah, I'm a paid field staffer for Whitetail Institute, but I wasn't when I started.
No.
You know, and I worked my way to get to a point I believed in a product that was so good and worked so well for me that I was willing to, you know, put my name, say, hey, I'll fight till I'm blue in the face with guys when they want to talk about Whitetail Institute and say things that are incorrect. And that's kind of the whole reason. And I'll apologize to people because I'm not a super confrontational person. I don't,
Right.
you know, and we want to be real careful because we don't want to be the people that come across as bitter or angry or mad, because we know we're blessed. We're Whitetail Institute's the number one seed for a reason.
Yeah.
You know, there's nobody even close. And like you said, you're not going to be in business very long if you're ripping people off. So, you know, that was kind of the reason for this. And also the reason was a selfish reason, because now when I have people, you know, like, say something, I'm just gonna give them a link to the podcast.
Yeah.
Say, hey, go listen.
Or tell them to call us. You know, watch the podcast.
Yep.
You know, if they have questions after this podcast, call us. We're not scared to talk to anybody. We've talked to the worst to the best.
Yep. And I'll say lastly, you know, a lot of this, you know, again, this is our first round at a podcast, and I think a lot of the guys that'll be watching this are guys that are just starting out, you know, that are trying to learn, you know, and they're going to groups like this and they're getting all kinds of different advice. Some of it's really, really good. Some of it's okay. And some of it's terrible, you know, like some of the things we went through. But what I tell guys is, listen, when you get a guy giving you advice, do your research, do your homework. You know, like, that's what I always say to guys like me. Hey, you want to come at me and tell me, you know, what I'm doing doesn't work? I got 5,000 pictures that say different. You know, show me what you got. And 95% of the time it's crickets.
Yeah.
You know, you don't hear anything. And I have that to back. So when you guys are looking and you're researching on what to do, just be careful who you're getting advice from. If they're telling you these things that we went through, I'll just go down through them. Just get your seed from a co-op. Seed is the same. Everything's the same. You don't listen to that guy. That's bad advice. You know, seed coating is bad. That's bad advice, because coating's good. You know, I mean, all these things, you know, just do it. Don't worry about a soil sample. You know, soil, just throw this down. That's bad advice.
Bad advice.
These are all examples
the worst
of
advice.
things that are just flat out not good advice. And if you're getting advice like that, I would be very cautious of getting any more advice from that guy on food plot stuff. So we encourage you, you know, do the research, do the math, think logically about things. You know, when you hear somebody say, they're ripping you off, they put this kind of seed in their blend. There's a reason for that seed in the blend, you know, and we appreciate customer feedback.
Yeah.
If you send back this and say, hey, man, I like this blend, but I think it'd be a lot better without maybe this and this, and I think it would work in wooded areas on rocky stuff, and we're going to listen to that.
We always listen.
Yeah,
to that.
so, you know, we look for new ideas on new blends and things that are going to work, but, you know, when a guy has that gotcha moment, they have this annual clover in their Imperial Clover blend, gotcha, they're ripping you off.
It's not a gotcha. There's a reason for it.
There's a reason for
and
all
a great
of it.
reason for
Yeah,
it.
and if you don't understand what it is, give us a call.
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah,
call us.
Call us, and we'll say, hey, here's why we put that in there.
We'll talk to you about all of it.
Yeah, but it's certainly not to rip you off.
No,
you know, that's
definitely
because
not.
you're not going to be in business very long, and there's a reason you're in business for 30 years.
Exactly.
Yeah. So, you know, that's a wrap for me. I want to thank you very much for being here. I want to thank you for listening to me ramble on and get it off my chest. I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Yeah, and it helps having a guy like you that can really explain some of these things to folks that just, you know, have some misperceptions and flat out false information.
Yeah.
So I really do appreciate it. So
Yes, sir.
you know, we'll wrap it up there. We hope you all enjoyed this podcast, and this is the last one for the spring edition. Again, we're going to have 7 more podcasts coming late summer. That's all going to be fall related food plot topics. It's going to help you with anything you're looking for in the fall, and we're going to see how it goes. And plan is do it again next year. So
Yeah, looking forward to it.
All right. Well, I appreciate it, and I appreciate everybody listening.